Hey y'all, welcome back. I'm Shayna Cersei and I'm so excited to paint with you again today for another day in our watercolor journals. So we're using, as usual, if you are a returner, the same kind of setup as we usually do, but for new folks, I am using a 6x9 watercolor journal with 140 pound cold press paper. It is 100% cotton. It's Baohong is the brand. You can find a link in the description if you are interested, as well as a few other recommendations of watercolor journals I have. I am using my Core mini palette. This little guy I got a couple months ago and it packs a great punch. Lots of like a really well-tailored palette for mixing a lot of colors, just 12 colors. Colors are super pigmented. I love Core by Golden, but whatever colors you have or brand that you prefer, that is a-okay. I've used lots of different brands before. You don't have to use the same one as me. And then I also have my enameled butcher tray here. It's an enameled metal. Watercolor mixes really well on these. And again, you can find a link in the description. Brushes, I have a series of rounds. Right now I am gravitating towards Princeton Velvet Touch brushes. They have a nice snap to them. I really enjoy them. And then also my Silver Black Velvet brushes. This is a size 8, 10, and 4. And I also have a Princeton Select liner or rigger brush here. Again, whatever brushes you have, I gravitate towards round in terms of the shape and have always in all of my brands. All right, let's get to what we're going to paint today. So we are going to do a somewhat monochromatic painting. And monochromatic paintings means one color, mono, single. It's going to be slightly different shades, but overall it will feel very monochromatic. So I'm going to use just 2 colors. And what we're going to do is a sky. So I'm going to mix these 2 colors together though. I'm using Phthalo blue. Sorry, I will tell you what we're going to do in just a second. And Payne's gray to make this kind of navy color. And then from this, I can have lots of different values. So I can have super dark and super light values, like all the way down to almost white if I need that color as well. So you can go even darker with heavy pigmented color. And then I'm even going to go all the way to almost black looking for some silhouettes. So this is what we're looking for, a huge range, but all the same color. There might be some slight variations as I remix it and there's a little bit more blue or a little less blue in it. So that's why I said really close to monochromatic. Okay. What we're going to do is a sky with some trees, and then we're going to do birds on a wire in silhouette. I thought that would be fun today. So really simple elements, but can help practice a lot of skills, like doing a gradient wash for the sky. We're going to be using and working on our brushwork and our water control. So lots of different skills can be applied for simple projects. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take kind of a medium color here. So I've already kind of mixed out my values here. So I'm going to take like from the medium section. And I am going to start, which one of these am I going to work in? I've divided my page because I don't need to do a whole page on this. Thought I could easily do it in just half a page. So basically I applied a bunch of paint up here at the top, and now I'm just going to start to add water and bring it down. You can tilt your page to help with that. And I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom. Probably could have used a slightly bigger brush for this. I'm using my Silver Black Velvet size 8. I'm not worried about this being a perfect gradient. I'm going to start right back at the top with some darker color and just kind of even this out a little bit because it is a sky, so it's going to have some organic kind of natural anomalies in it. Like you could even pull out color in some areas if you wanted it to. I'm going to switch my brush. I'm gonna switch my brush to my thicker, bulkier, kind of sturdier Velvet Touch brush. I find this one is a little better for washes. There we go. And then you're just gonna let this dry. So we have a nice, you want everything to be kind of evenly damp by the time you're done messing with it. And then just stop, because if things are super different in terms of this is really wet and this is kind of dry down here, as it dries as a whole, it's going to start to push and pull pigment and water in different ways, and that's when you get those funky like cauliflowers. Like right here, the only thing I'm going to do, take a damp brush. I have a little puddle here, so I'm just going to even that out a little. It was a little wetter than everything else. So I'm not actually trying to move any paint or pigment. I was just trying to even out the wetness of it. All right, so I'm going to let that dry, and then we're going to come in and add some more details with other varying shades of this color, or varying values. All right, we're back and everything is dry. I mixed up just a little more of this color here, and you can see I have different values. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a tree line, but I'm going to have it kind of go in a V like this. And I want there to be different values of trees. So I'm going to do like pine trees. My shortest ones are going to be here. My tallest ones are going to be here. So it's going to be like, these are the closest to me, so they're largest. And as they go away from me, it's almost like what we can't see below here is like maybe a road or something that these trees are along or against. But then at the very bottom, so I used my lighter color values here, so we'll get darker later. I'm going to put in some tiny little light colored pine trees off in the distance. They're right here at the center. And then, and you don't have to be super detailed with them. What we're going to do is, and you can always start with the same light value. And then as they, and we can make it darker as, and I'm putting in these really skinny, not fully fleshed out. It's almost like I'm just sketching out the bare bones of where I want my trees to be, and then I can fill them out even further. Sometimes that helps me, is like just getting the plan in place, and then I can focus on the details rather than really hyper focusing on all the details of one thing, and then I kind of lose the big picture. And then when you back up, you're like, oh, the perspective isn't quite right on that, or this is like the sketching of the perspective. And then I'm going to do really big, kind of thick, bulky tree right here. Pick up some more of that Payne's gray, make some really dark. But you can see these are all same color, different values. And I'm going to make it like kind of really dark on the corners, I think. Okay, so we got to do the other side. Same thing. And I can doctor these up a little bit more with slightly more filled out. A little darker here in the mid-ground. Okay, so let's do the other side. Same thing. It's kind of nice, like just that line is pretty dynamic. And then I could do the birds on a wire like right here. Well, we're gonna stick with the original plan, but it is okay to change your mind halfway through. And again, doing that same kind of sketching out, like there's going to be a tree here, it's going to branches, they're going to be about this wide, but I'm not going to do all the details. This one is going to be darker. And basically I'm just bopping back and forth with these slightly angled swishes, as you can see, for my tree. I'm gonna go super dark. There we go. Like I said, I kind of want these corners to be even a little darker. A little vignetting is going on. Let some of these darker branches kind of fall in front of the... Here it got a little blocky for me. I'm just going to pull up some of that, let it dry. I'm going to put on some darker, more fine details after it dries, like super... Let's test it. Oh, it's kind of dry enough. It's like just a little damp. I still want it to have some texture down here. I don't want it to... Okay, so I think that's good. I think I'm done with my trees. I'm going to let those dry. I am going to add a little bit more of this medium value details in here to these trees so they don't look so anemic. Just a few in there. There we go. Okay, and now I'm going to do, like in my super darkest color, I'm actually going to pick up my fine liner for this. In my darkest color, add a little water to get the flow going. And I'm going to put a line across, and see how I skipped out there? That's kind of okay. Put a line across, and then I'm going to let that dry. We're going to put some birds on it. I'm going to switch to, so I talked about kind of the difference in brushes, I think in my last video, but this is a synthetic brush and this is a natural brush. So this synthetic brush has a lot of snap to it. Even when it's wet, it snaps right back, where the natural brush keeps a bend or a lean to it. See that? This one snaps right back. Keeps a beautiful point, but has this bend to it. I love this brush for so many reasons, but sometimes I really need more control, and I feel like I don't have that with the natural brush. So this one, I know if I want to paint something small in detail that isn't loose, the snap I appreciate a little bit more. So I'm going to switch to this, even though this has actually a better point. This size 8 has a finer point than this size 4. Or they're very close. Yeah, it definitely has a finer point. But this one is going to give me more control. So I'm going to use this one to paint my little birds. Okay. That's a preference. That's how I like the mechanics of this brush better for this particular detail. Someone asked me like, oh, the Silver Black Velvet is the more expensive brush. Why don't you use it for everything? And it's like, well, because even though it's more expensive because of just the materials, doesn't mean the quality of the tool or the mechanics of the tool itself are what I need for every situation. So I hope that makes sense. I mean, some people paint always with one particular brush, you know, one size, one brush, and that's just how they like to paint. So I did pick up some Payne's Gray. I am adding just a little blue to it. I want to have a blue tint, but I want it to be really dark. Okay, so my birds, they're going to be small on here, and they're just going to be little ovals with, I might need to pull some of that color off. And this is still wet down here. I'm putting my hand in it. So hopefully I don't transfer it to any other part of the page. So we're going to give them a little tail sticking down and then a little oval head with a tiny little beak. And then you can just paint them in kind of all different directions. This one might be facing that way. You might have a big fat one. You know, they're going to be slightly different sizes. This one's going to be the tail sitting straight down, but head turned to the side. We'll paint even a little tinier one here. Boop, boop. Tiny little tail. You don't have to get too crazy. You can even have two like really close to each other. And then let's see, I'm going to have one kind of facing, maybe one more facing downward, like leaning down on the, so their tail is going to be up this way and their head is going to be down here. I don't know that I pulled that one off very well, but you get the idea. All different shapes. So that's fun. And let's see, what other element can we add to this? I am going to thicken, I'm going to go back to that line. I'm going to add like a second line. Just to give it a little more, you know, substantial, not hanging in air. And then you know what you could even do? You could just leave it the line. You don't have to get this crazy, but you could add like a pole that's super dark just to give it like something to hang on to. I'm just making up this telephone pole right here. I know there's things that stick off, or electrical pole. So there's a pole. And then the last element, and you can just leave one single wire. Please don't fall into the trap that I often do, feeling like I have to add a ton of stuff. Okay, this is beautiful, simple, just the way it is. But do you want to add a moon with me? Yes, you do. Excellent. I'm so excited. So we are going to take some little bleed proof white, Dr. P.H. Martin's bleed proof white. We are going to add a fanciful moon up here. This stuff is opaque, so it's going to cover up whatever is below it. But if you add water to it, it will, like too much water, it will become transparent. It'll still have an opaque feel, but we're just going to add. You could do a big moon. You could do a super tiny moon. I'm just going to do like a nice little medium size moon here. And you know what? I'm going to pull out a little bit of this color and let some of its make it a little transparent, so some of that blue shines through, so it gives like the modeling. of a moon. Okay, so this is kind of reverse what we would do if we were painting in watercolor. We would add some kind of darker spots on it. I'm actually pulling away some of the color so that darker area shines through on it. So we have our craters of our moon. There we go. All right, I hope you enjoyed this one. This is super fun. So this is our monochromatic birds on a wire in a lovely like foresty roaded area. So there's a road down here somewhere. We can't see it. We're looking up at the top. But we know there's some civilization here because we have a telephone pole and our wires and our birds. And this one was just super fun. And I love these colors. They're very calming to me. You know what they remind me of in photography, because I was a photographer also. I am a photographer. But when I was first learning back in high school and college, really early on, we would do these things called cyanotypes. And I don't know if you've ever heard of those, but cyanotypes are this light reactive paper that you put objects on top of it that block light, and you just put it out in the sun. And then you take everything off and you run it through this bath. And then basically the parts that were not exposed to the sun stay white or a light color, very light color, blue or gray. And then everything else turns a very dark blue. And it's this beautiful kind of textured pattern, surface pattern way of learning about photography and learning about light, and super cool. So these colors always remind me of that, and I think it just brings me back to those glory days of when you're first learning. So anyway, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're very new here. Check out the description for links to supplies and materials, and leave a comment if you'd like. I'd love to hear from y'all. All right, we will be back for another watercolor journal page, probably the other side of this page, very soon. All right, y'all, take care and happy painting. Wait, stop the presses. I stopped the video, but I forgot. Y'all get mad at me when I don't take the tape off to show you the true final piece. So I'm sure it will make this piece look even sharper. So let's take the tape off. Even though I still want to do the other side, that's why I didn't rush to take the tape off. So I'm going to peel the tape here to save that. I will put, and I'll take off the center. All right, there we go. How do we feel about it now? Even better? Oh, so fun. That would make a lovely print, I think. All right, so now that the tape is off, now I can truly say happy painting, y'all. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll be back very soon. Take care.